Our next keynote speaker, or I should say the keynote speaker, Lieutenant Colonel retired Kerm Morgan. And I can't remember if he is giving the long version or the short. Oh, it's the short version. All right.
Thank you, Ron. First of all, to allay any fears, Larry in the back, Larry's a very big man. Larry ordered the short version. So that's what you're getting. First off, if there's any emotion that a speaker should feel, particularly at this stage of the game, it should be one of humility. The speakers before me, in terms of what they've done and what they've experienced, totally reduces me to that emotion of humbleness. And it's deserved. There are some true heroes in this crowd today. And I want to have, the only guy in the crowd I think who ranks me is Colonel Olson. So Colonel, you've got a job. Okay? Ready for a mission? In 5 minutes, tell me to sit down. Because you're the only guy that can order me to do that. Fair enough? Okay, the clock starts. So many guys in the crowd, I've seen them, have the combat increments badge. Could you stand up? You're looking at American heroes, folks. There's a guy way in the back who's jacking his jaws with the fellow from the VFW who has a Pathfinder's badge. I haven't seen a Pathfinder's badge since 1968. They are tough people. There he is, there he is. I got him. There he is. In terms of Ron's comment about the choice system, there's a phrase we used to, I don't think the Marines ever did these kind of things, but in the Army we called it FUBAR. Work on that one as far as the choice program. I'll leave that as it is. I want to talk about nothing other than my own personal experiences with veterans, about veterans. I spent 28 fun-filled years in the Army, and then worked at WITC for another career, then worked for a firm in Arizona until I finally got tired of working after 50 years, and now I'm totally retired. When I came back from Vietnam in '68, I was in my dress greens, like Colonel Olson, on my way to a high school graduation in Rice Lake, on shiny Captain bars, thinking, kind of cool. Got pulled over by the State Patrol, by Weyerhaeuser, didn't know anybody in the Weyerhaeuser post, and for my troubles, I guess as a Vietnam vet, as a '69, I got a ticket going 61 and 55 zone. So I'm thinking, not a strong respect quotient for vets, but let's move on. In grad school, you talked a lot about today about PTS. It's not PTSD anymore. Thank God. It is not a disorder medically classified as post-traumatic stress. And they finally realized that. Chuck Figley and I did a paper in 1974 when I was in grad school in New Mexico, and we titled it, what should we call it, Chuck? Let's call it post-traumatic stress, and submitted to the VA about taking a look at that as an issue affecting a lot of Vietnam vets back in the early 70s. Got laughed out of the central office in Washington. Next slide. Moving ahead quickly. The dedication in 1982, of which Dave and Dennis and I were at, probably one of the most profound events of my life. We're marching down Constitution Avenue, and this motley crew of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Wisconsin vets, led by Dave Wetzel, Medal of Honor member. We got stopped for whatever reason in front of this huge stand, and Dave, you were telling me it was the judge's stand? And thousands of people, thousands. And this is 1982, and we turned to the right, and Dave Wetzel had us sing what we knew of, God Bless America. Now, stop and picture that scene in your mind. You're a Vietnam veteran. You're facing a hostile crowd. At least you've known them to be hostile since the day you got out of the country. And you're singing God Bless America to these people. It was an epiphany, I think. Is that a religious church? it hit me about 2 days ago. That was a fundamental demonstration of forgiveness. In 1982, to those people in front of us, thousands of them, we were saying, you know what, we're going to God bless America. We're loyal, we're patriots, we've been done wrong, but we still honor this country, and we respect you by forgiving them for the way we've been treated. Now, what's the legacy that should beget most of us Vietnam vets? First of all, stop and think about it. The leadership of this country for the last 20 to 30 years has been Vietnam veterans. Pick any corporation, Vietnam veterans. Pick the leadership in the first Gulf War, Schwarzkopf, Powell, McCaffrey. The leadership is drawn from the experiences that we had as young sergeants and captains and specialists in the jungles and the fields of Vietnam. Where do we go with it? I think the gentleman who spoke from the VBA hit the significant overarching point of the day. How do you go out now as a Vietnam veteran or a supporter of Vietnam veterans, a family member, and find that kid who was served in Iraq, Afghanistan, currently on active duty, wherever he or she may be, and say, come in and join us. Be part of us. Be a member of an effective organization that will do good things for you. Now, the only organization that I truly never wanted to join was the Purple Heart. I think a lot of us would decline membership had we given the option, wouldn't we? And but we were chosen. But the other organizations can do so much for veterans. So, as you leave today, have just that kernel of thought in your mind to look for that young kid out there. They're in every community. They're everywhere. And say, you know what, come on to the next meeting with me. Here's a brochure on this organization, whatever the organization may be. And then you will be doing good. You'll be doing important work, not only for him, but for all veterans. And Ron Mosier, I'll tell you what, folks, this is a gem. Ron is a gem in Rusk County, helping veterans here. He is a treasure. I've been working with, I do a little bit of work, as far as work goes, is working with disabled veterans. And I'm working with quite a number right now, about 5 or 6 guys. The biggest claim started, I don't make these things up, started August 9th, 2009. And he was injured in an armored personnel carrier, hit a tree came down, knocked him through, he was the driver through the cupola, sheared off the seat bolts. Now, any of you engineers in the crowd, figure out the tensile strength required to shear those 2 bolts. Probably in the tune of hundreds of thousands of pounds per square inch. Aha! Bob did not report to the Army Medical Facility. Hence, since 1964, they've refused to allow him that particular rating, given that injury. And yesterday, I'm sad to report, we just got our 2nd turn down from the Federal Appeals Court. So, we're going to march on. We'll figure out a way. We'll do something. We'll call in Don. Don, you take this over. I'm so delighted to hear about you, about getting those benefits that you deserve and the recognition. And so, Colonel Olson has been good to me because I know I got to be at 5 minutes. One last thing. I want to recognize a person way in the back who has done more for people, veterans, non-veterans, children, old people, young people, middle-aged people, skinny people, fat people, black people, white people in her life than most of us could ever consider doing in a week, in maybe a life. Donna Wachowski, I know you're back there. Stand up. Anyway, God bless you for what you're doing.
I have to say much about this man.
Oh, good. Okay.
one thing about Kerm. My brother served in Vietnam. And he was one of those guys that he came home to join the Legion, and you know what they told him where he lived? Vietnam was no war. You can't be here. And if any of you were told that, my heart breaks for you too. But anyway, he hid inside himself for years. And I took a class at WITC with this man right here as my teacher. Ooh. And little did I know how God would use that in my brother's life. At that time, my brother had retired and he went to a VA medical facility for some care and learned that with shrapnel still in his body, he was eligible for the Purple Heart. So he went to his county here in Wisconsin and asked his VA officer to help him. And his VA officer told him, that was a long time ago, you need to forget it. Well, this man right here was my teacher. And I went and told him, oh, I told somebody that just went crazy.
You know what I did, I probably called up the AZ.
Well, that VA officer was removed immediately. And because of this man right here, my brother received his Purple Heart before he passed away from Agent Orange.
Thank you. Whenever we're working with vets, all of us veteran supporters, our yoke really is easy and our burden is light. Does that come close? Yeah, it really is, in terms of what we can give back to each other. And thank God for all you've done. God bless you. I turn it back to you.